Welcome to this edition of Hindsight is Horrifying, the show where three mostly normal and somewhat cynical adults discuss life as members of the TV generation. Now here are your hosts, Darth Jada, Jason Mitchell, and Adam B.
Hello.
Hi.
And welcome back to another of our 1970s movie series.
Oh, we're still stuck in that god-awful decade?
Well, we said we were going to do it over the summer. And
it is still summer.
It is still summer,
That's
so
true.
that's what we're doing. This was my choice. I picked this one today.
And boy, howdy, is it a weird one.
It's it's odd. I will admit it's odd. Well, we'll go ahead and tell you what the name of the movie is, and let's see if I can. There you go. It is 1973, I think. 1975.
Mm-hmm.
A movie directed by absolutely nobody, starring absolutely nobody, called Kiss of the Tarantula.
Ooh.
Now, this is a movie that the only reason I know about it is because they did it on Riff Tracks.
I was going to ask because I've never so much as heard of this movie. Nobody's ever referred to it, as far as I know.
There's no reason to. There's no reason why anybody would ever mention this movie to you.
Not really, and we can get into why that is, because it's a decent enough movie, but I'm just not. You can't get behind the main character.
No,
she's a horrible, horrible human being.
Well, one of the things I wanted to talk about during our 1970s, series was the low budget, make it on a shoestring horror movie.
Okay.
Which the 1970s were replete with these sorts of movies.
Oh, 100%.
And there were a bunch of different reasons for it. A lot of times it was people who just wanted to get together and make a movie. But a lot of times there was actually tax benefits to it. Particularly, actually, in Canada, there was like a 10-year period from like 72 to 82 when you could write off everything you put into a movie.
Seriously?
Like 100% of it.
Wow.
You could write off. So people would make movies. They wouldn't necessarily make the movie. They would just find somebody and say, "Here, I'll invest this much money in,"
right,
and just write it all off.
Huh.
And if you make a profit, you make a profit. I don't know if this was the case. This movie...
That is a pink-ass casket. My God. Sorry.
Well, it was the 1970s.
Yes, it was.
It was the sort of thing people wanted. This movie is an example, I think, of just a bunch of local people deciding to get together and make a movie.
Yeah.
But I think there's still a little bit of a mystery even there because the movie was filmed in Columbus, Georgia, which is just right down the road from here. It's not far at all from our studio. But there are scenes that were shot in California. And so, you wonder, like, was there a little bit of money involved? Were they actually trying to make a successful movie? And they wanted,
because shooting in California back then was no cheap affair. By any stretch. So
no, absolutely not.
That's interesting.
And if you look, the movie does have, and here I'll pull up some of the artwork so you can see. Somebody.
It's a legit movie poster, yeah.
Yeah, somebody spent the money. The actress, the lead actress, she's attractive.
Yeah, she's a beautiful lady. But so before we fall down the rabbit hole too far,
what is it about?
What's the movie about? Well, the synopsis is John Bradley runs a morgue and lives with his wife Martha and daughter Susan, a girl who collects tarantulas. When the teenager finds out that the mother is cheating on her partner and wants to kill him, she wants to teach her a lesson.
Yeah, which is okay.
And that's not the synopsis of the movie. That's just the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, that is literally just sort of what sets it up.
Because you get kind of a 50,000-foot view of the story overall. The girl is obviously obsessed with spiders. You see her wandering through the woods, and her mother is borderline abusive with her and calling her names and accusing her of being bizarre and strange. She's like, "What's the matter with you? Get away from those spiders!"
Is it her mom or her stepmom?
It's her mom.
It is her mom.
Yeah.
Okay. For some reason, I couldn't remember that.
I'm pretty sure it's her mom.
Yeah, and mom is cheating on
dad with the local police officer who you come to find
is also uncle.
Yes, Uncle Rapey.
Uncle Rapey.
God,
Uncle
that dude
Greaseball.
is creepy. But yeah, so she's cheating with the local law enforcement. But yeah, you come to find he is the morgue owner's brother.
I love that they don't even notice that there's a little girl just like with her face stuck
just
in the
peeping
window,
Tomming it
watching.
in the corner. But yeah, so it's sad because the mom clearly has it out for her daughter, and she's just like, there's something wrong with her. And the dad goes, no, she's just curious, Martha. Leave her alone. She likes spiders. Big deal.
And Dad's wrong about that.
Well, as we come to find,
Dad's clearly wrong about that.
Because Martha's just like, yeah, there's something wrong with our kid. And he goes, nah, she's just curious. And he, quote unquote, always takes Susan's side, which pisses the mom off to no end.
Yeah.
And so they have a fight where she ends up slapping her husband in the face, and then she goes upstairs to make that fateful phone call. Yeah. Because Susan just peeps on everybody in this movie. Like, she's constantly creeping around some sort of corner.
Yeah.
That's just what she does.
Yeah, so mom is going to get Dad's brother.
She puts a hit on her husband by calling her lover.
And let's just call him Uncle Rapey.
Yeah, that's his name.
Yeah, Uncle Rapey.
He doesn't warrant a name.
Uncle Rapey is totally okay with killing his brother.
As far as you are led to believe, because you don't see his end of the phone conversation. But it's such a short conversation that you assume that he probably... I mean, he's not quibbling about sleeping with his brother's wife, so I doubt he's...
Well, it's different.
They're very different crimes, but at the same time, you don't see him talking to her on the other end of the landline. It's just her saying, yeah, I've had it. I've had this one last fight with him, and I can't deal with him anymore. I want him dead. And Susan hears her mom saying that about her dad. Okay, and decides to take action.
Now, you've actually put this whole movie in a whole different slant for me now.
You're welcome.
Because now I'm like, the depth of Kiss of the Tarantula just got a little bit. It went from being a little puddle in the road to a slightly deeper puddle.
I helped reveal its very little substance.
Yeah. Well, and okay, so putting aside for a second whether or not whether or not Uncle Rapey is actually willing to kill his brother.
Yeah.
Because Uncle Rapey's motivations in the movie are a little odd to begin with, because he eventually wants to bang his niece.
Well, and they did a good job doing a slow burn reveal on that, because it takes a while for them to acknowledge the fact that he is in fact Uncle Rapey, not just random rapey friend of Dad. Like,
but was that them doing that cleverly or creatively, or did they just not write it very well?
You have to wonder.
And they forgot to establish that, it works.
I would like to assume that it was creatively and intentionally done that way, because there's a not so subtle line that he has when Susan's grown up. She's like 18 a little later in the movie, and he goes, oh, you're just as beautiful as your mother was. And it's just like, oh God. And that could be taken specifically like, oh yeah, I always found your mother personally attractive, or like, you're just, I don't know, like, it's just ambiguous enough.
Yeah.
Because he clearly remembers the mom from when she was alive, but you don't know that he was the one she was cheating with.
Right.
Until later in the movie.
Well, and the whole...
Actually, no, you know it right away, but you just don't realize the relationship.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
And so the girl, she has a collection of tarantulas, which, for those of you who don't know, tarantulas really aren't that dangerous.
They're not.
That's why they're used in movies.
Yeah, they're big and hairy and creepy, but I even had to remind myself of that. I looked it up to see how venomous they really are. And
not all
apparently
that.
It's like a bad bee sting when they bite you.
Yeah.
Because they do have venom, but it's not lethal.
But as demonstrated in the movie, though, they can kill you just apparently by walking on your arm.
I know. The spiders never actually actively bite anybody, which is good because safety precautions on a set, but still.
Yeah, I mean...
And they can kill you through your clothing.
Yeah, they can kill you through your clothing.
Yes.
They can kill you by just walking on you.
Yes.
As we see here, because Mom literally just has a tarantula walking on her. And
does not wake up.
No. And
even though it's touching her bare skin in places. Ugh, God.
Well, throughout the whole movie, people are doing this thing where they're like not conscious of the fact that there are tarantulas walking on them. I mean, I can tell you when there's a cockroach walking around in the room next door to me. And I'm loading my shotgun. In there
Death
she
by
goes.
boob.
There she goes. It gets she dies.
Yeah, it's fairly ridiculous. And she dies like instantaneously.
So here's the question. Did the little girl actually murder her? Because she put a spider on her.
This was my question for you, so I'm a little perplexed that you're asking, because you're the lawyer in the room.
Okay, all right.
So technically, putting a bug on someone and the bug biting them to death, like, is that murder by the strictest definition of the law?
If you didn't intend to kill them, like, I'm going to put a spider on her and I'll scare her. I'll show her.
Especially since she's a little kid. It could have just been a really nasty prank.
And then it's like, oh shit, she had a heart attack and died. That's like, okay, well, we're into it's not murder. It's like manslaughter because you didn't intend to kill anyone. Like, the little girl might not have. And it'll come up later on in the movie when she, lets loose a whole bunch of spiders on a car full of, teenagers who are in their 50s.
And she just has an army of disposable tarantulas.
But they always show her like getting them back. Like
she like summons them. But well, so
how the hell does that work?
Well, one of the motivators for her murdering the other teenagers when she gets older, and I missed the line about why there's any contention between.
Now she's all grown up.
Yeah, very almost like Elvira looking.
No one who sits in a basement petting spiders looks like her. I'm just going to say that right now.
I'm sorry.
No.
I just meant like the structure of her face.
No. I mean,
nobody's that hot sitting here.
No, you're not going to look like that if you're just constantly playing with your pet tarantulas. Prove me wrong. If there is someone out there who sits in their basement playing with their pet tarantulas and you find yourself to be hot, send me a picture. We'll put it on the show.
But what was the name of the tarantula? Oh my God. Because she's got a clear favorite and its name is either Jennifer or Jessica. Hang on, I wrote it down.
Named after either Jennifer Lopez or Jessica Biel.
Oh God. But
that's what Gene would have done.
That's so true. Jennifer.
Quentin Tarantulino.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, here's
Brand Tarantulina.
Here's another problem too, is that this movie is filmed in Georgia, and I want to point something out. We're going to look on the map here of the range of the tarantula
in the United States of America.
It's pretty much everywhere except anywhere near where this movie would be set.
Did they say that? Oh, okay. You just said set, so that was going to be my question. Is that where is it set?
Well, it's a fair point. I guess
you
it
don't
could be.
know.
I'm looking at the map. I guess it could be.
And even in a place Texas, where there are plenty of tarantulas out in the wild, how would you collect like 50,000 of them the way that she did?
I honestly do not know.
Sorry, Jason's throwing stuff in the studio.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
He threw a tarantula. But yeah, so the reason why...
And the guy who plays the dad, not to interrupt you, but he is the worstest actor ever. He can't
show your work.
When he can't even get his lines. Like he stumbles over his lines.
It's like he was sort of tipsy throughout most of the movie, and he's sort of there, but not really.
Well, like half of the people in the movie, not half the people, I should say that, but a fair bit of the movie is cast by people who are related to each other.
I can see that. Yeah,
I think I'd have to go.
I would actually posit that Uncle Rapey is in fact related to the dad. They look kind of alike.
I can actually tell you here. I've got the list here, and it's okay. So
the way he just like nuzzles her from behind. God.
Yeah, I know. It's so
cringy.
And that haircut. Every guy in the 70s had that haircut and that suit. If we were filming this in the 70s, I'd be wearing that suit.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Hooper had that haircut.
Yeah. So yeah, there were 4 members of the family in this film.
Okay.
The mom, was Beverly Eddins.
Okay.
Dad was played by James Eddins.
So they're real life married.
Mom and dad were married.
Okay. Unless they were brother and sister, which is, I hope not.
Let's see. Beverly Eddins plays the mother. Martha Bradley. I don't know who she. Yeah, the mother is Martha Bradley. Yeah. W. James Eddins plays Sergeant Wes Matthews. Okay.
So the brother-in-law.
Yeah. Rebecca Eddins plays the 10-year-old Susan.
Okay.
And then Susan Eddins played 5-year-old Susan.
Oh my God.
So there were a ton of family members who were involved in this movie. And I mean, it's good because when you have your kids, they're going to work for free.
Yeah.
They actually did like a screening of this a few years back in, I don't remember what county. Oh crap, it's not Fort. I can't remember which county.
I'm not sure.
It was filmed in, but they actually did a screening of this because it was like, a local piece of folklore, and they had props from the movie and stuff.
Okay.
And I tried to find out where the hell that was because I thought, man, that'd be kind of cool if there's somebody alive out there who has props from the movie, like, get them to come on the show. And,
probably got sold off at some estate sale years ago.
Or thrown in the garbage.
Yeah.
You know.
But getting back to the plot of the movie, so we obviously understand Susan's original motivation to murder her mom because her mom was going to have her dad knocked off. And Susan obviously favors her dad because he doesn't smack her around or shake her violently. Yeah. But then later, I missed the line. I caught like the tail end of it, and there weren't subtitles, so it was kind of difficult to hear because all the dialogue is really low, and then the action sequences with the bad 70s Nintendo music is incredibly loud. So I had to keep adjusting the volume. But so I heard something to the effect of, "Oh, the boys in town. Oh, the boys in town are so mean to me, Dad," or something like that.
Yeah, because I'm so unattractive.
Yeah, it's an exchange between him and Susan, and
the typical bullshit, movie logic.
But then it's a little confusing because she gets on the phone with the boy that she's obviously in a relationship with. I think his name is Joe, and he's going to like come down the road from college and visit her when her dad's out of town. Yeah, from college, but before the boyfriend can get there, it's actually a group of other dudes who randomly show up.
Yeah.
And they want to like use a casket for a prank or something from the mortuary.
Yeah, I know when I was a teenager, we were constantly stealing caskets. It was just like that was what we did.
We didn't have any cows to tip, so we stole caskets instead. But yeah, so I don't know what the hostility is between her and the town boys, unless she's just like the weirdo that they like to pick on.
Yeah, my read was that she was just the weirdo.
Okay, yeah, because
I could be wrong about that, but that's what I got, was that she was just this weird kid.
But as far as they know, that's not the case, because they didn't know anything about her spiders or anything like that. They discover them when they're at her house.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
So I really don't know what the source of hostility is between. And so maybe they just think she's stuck up and like a loner weirdo. You have to, you have to make a lot of assumptions.
Her dad's pulling down all that Undertaker money. I mean, they do live in a really nice house.
Well, it's a mortuary slash house. It's a massive like mausoleum, basically.
And I see that, and I think, how many people out there right now are living in houses and have no idea that like the basement used to be a morgue?
Yeah.
I mean,
or a source for murders before you were legally required to report that as a real estate agent.
Boy, stuffed animals in the 70s.
Oh, were creepy as hell. God.
They sucked. They didn't move or anything. You couldn't animate them. And they just looked like they were not going to be. Okay. So there's
Joe, I think his name is, the boyfriend. So he's obviously in some sort of dorm or police station. You can't really tell which.
It's same.
And
they filmed it in the library, probably.
He calls Susan, and her dad's out of town, so the boyfriend's naturally going to come over to visit while she's alone in the house. But then you have the three random
Susan,
dudes.
Wanna bang?
Hey there, Susan. Looking to lose my V card this weekend. But,
you son of a bitch. I'm in.
I'm in. Oh, Jessica. But 5 more minutes of this and I'm going to get mad.
Just go to town.
But yeah, so then a car full of kids shows up who, like you said, they're all like 50 years old. It's even worse than when Luke Perry was playing a teenager.
Oh, it's way worse.
He was at least in his 20s. I mean, he played one well into his 30s, but still.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have this Volkswagen Bug clown car full of kids, and they pull up to the mortuary.
Yeah. And clearly the director said, hey, act like a bunch of, rowdy kids. So they're just like bouncing around inside the car.
Yeah. And it's just,
like
this is before seatbelt laws were enforced, or before they even existed. Yeah. But so they've clearly been drinking. You see one of them take a swig out of a bottle, and they come in and essentially attack Susan. One of them pins her arms down and she can't move. And they're trying to steal a casket. Did we ever figure out why?
No. Honestly, I don't know why they're trying to steal the casket.
There's like zero motivation that the audience actually understands in this movie. Now, the girlfriends of the drunk guys are in the car, but everyone's going to wind up paying a very steep price for this.
Well, and as far as motivation, like I get the only motivation that's clear is hers, because people do bad things to her, and so she
retaliates.
She retaliates. And so she makes just sort of like an internal logic, like, okay, well, she makes sense because, okay, we don't know why these idiots are breaking into the morgue or to the funeral home.
She's just like a beacon for mistreatment.
Yeah, but it makes sense. Okay, they did something bad to her. They killed her pet spider. And okay,
yeah,
so
they killed Jennifer.
They killed Jennifer.
Poor Jennifer. R.I.P.
Poor Jennifer. She went too young.
But my point
did
of
they
that,
actually kill a spider for that though? Because they have a dead spider.
They do, and it's the 70s, so there's really no telling. Like, we should probably look it up and see.
I mean, you know,
were any spiders harmed in the making of Kiss of the Tarantula?
I will tell you that there is nothing in the articles that I read. I didn't find anything that mentioned. There was a name. There was a guy named Jay Scott who supplied the tarantulas.
Okay.
And I'm here. I'll let the audience see with me. See, he is known for. Well, this was the last thing. So he apparently was in some stuff before.
God.
And then this was the last thing that he was in. So I don't know if he was like a professional spider wrangler or what, but yeah, he does have a small part in this.
Like how Tom Jane's a shark wrangler.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so anyway, I think it's possible that maybe they just found a dead spider, you know, because you got to think these guys don't live forever.
No, they don't.
Spiders.
Yeah, let's see what their lifespan is. I don't see, it's not specifically mentioning that they didn't, in fact, murder a spider for this movie.
Now, here's another thing, too. If I lived in a funeral home and I was there by myself, okay.
The Goliath bird eater lives from 15 to 25 years.
Wow. Well done, him.
Tarantula, they're different kinds, so it looks like they've got different lifespans, but it looks like they live a while.
So
considering...
it was murder then?
Yes, it was.
It was murder.
She did not expire of old age.
Yeah. But no, what I was saying is if I lived in a funeral home,
yes,
and I was there by myself and I was upstairs and I heard noise downstairs.
Oh, I'd be freaking
There is no way that I would just like, oh, I wonder what it is.
Oh,
what could it be?
Let's go investigate, gang.
Because it's either a burglar or it's the undead.
Which would be worse?
Or it's someone looking to do something with the dead. And
okay, that's the worst option. That's definitely the worst option.
That's the bad one right there.
But yeah, the guys come in and basically like molest Susan, and once again, they have no idea. I think they're searching for a casket, so they wind up in her little basement area where she keeps all of her tarantulas, and they're like, what the hell is this? Like, they had no idea that she was doing that before they
Dude, you're in a
came in and violated her in her own home.
Yeah, I mean, you're in a funeral home. You're going to see some stuff that you don't want to see.
Exactly.
You know.
And she's trying to defend the homestead and be like, no, you can't go down there. Like, get out of my house. And she's trying to say, you know,
I do
be
like
brave.
She decorated her little spider cave, though. She's got some folk art up there.
Antique photos, because that's the one thing you can't replace.
Yeah,
she steals them from parties. Yeah. And some sort of wicker circle and some sort of bowl that's mounted on the wall. I have no idea what's going on. One of those,
and she has like a coat rack. Yeah, I think my parents had that in the 70s.
It's like a drying line / coat rack. The ones that like used to stretch out horizontally.
Yeah, a lot of denim.
Have you ever snapped your fingers in one of those damn things? The coat rack when you stretch it out and then fold it back in. Oh man. So, yeah, poor Jennifer. They pick up her cage and then like they drop the cage and it shatters even though it's a wire cage. And the guy who opened it in the beginning, he stomps on the poor spider. And so Susan is now completely losing her mind.
And okay, so again, she's got motivation. I mean,
she does.
You know,
I mean, if somebody came in and killed one of my dogs, you better. I don't know that I would have been so. I wouldn't have gone to such great efforts as to sick an army of spiders on them because I'm not a big fan of spiders.
Yeah, but if somebody killed your dog and you had the option of killing the son of a bitch with an army of spiders, you know,
I'd be in prison.
That's the route you would go.
Yeah.
It's like, should I shoot him or should I have him slowly be?
Should I leave the word murder with a question mark on the end of it? Just like you were saying in the beginning of this podcast, because is it murder?
Yeah,
if she was just trying to prank those nasty kids who broke into her house?
And that actually is like she very clearly after, and this is coming up soon.
And her androgynous boyfriend shows up just a moment too late.
Yeah.
Not that looking at him, I don't know that he could have done much of anything to help her.
Oh, no, now you only have 78 tarantulas.
But what kills me is that, like, she clearly had the one favorite spider, Jennifer, and so of course that's the one that dies. And then, but she's so willing. Favorite? I don't know.
Did it do tricks? Did it talk?
It was like Charlotte from Charlotte's Web.
Yeah, I mean, did you
spun her
solve
special
murders
messages
together?
in its web.
Yeah, were you out investigating haunted houses together?
What are you trying to say? All spiders are the same? That's racist, Jason.
All spiders pretty much the fucking same. They got targets on their back.
But yeah, so for whatever reason, Jennifer's her favorite, and but she's so willing to risk the lives of her other spiders to play out these scenarios because I think one of them actually does die in the Volkswagen Beetle.
Well, yeah, that's what doesn't make any sense.
She's willing to risk the rest of them in order to get that revenge. So she plays clear-cut favorites.
She really does. So, I mean, her plan is basically, you have these kids after ransacking a funeral home. They go to a drive-in movie, a double feature, by the way, a Dirty Harry Magnum Force double feature.
How do you know that?
You can see the sign.
Did I miss the sign?
Yeah, you can see the sign was up earlier. But so she follows them there, and she puts a whole bunch of spiders in the car,
like at least 20 of them.
Yeah, like
there's
a lot
a
of them.
bunch.
Yeah, and the
spiders in a beetle.
Yeah, and the spiders proceed to kind of walk around everybody.
And they don't skitter or panic at any given moment. Like,
No.
it's just, she's got an entire box of them. God.
Yeah, I know. It's like, did they have them in the refrigerator to slow them down?
I don't know, because even in an acting standpoint, it's still chaotic. I mean, the animals are going to get a little panicked, one would think. And, and they can move pretty fast, tarantulas.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
they're predators,
But at no point are they going any faster than the girl from The Ring, basically. They just don't freak out
it's
ever.
Just aggressive making out.
Well, it was the 70s.
I mean, that's like making out like you don't like the other person.
Like you're just hurting her.
And of course, they left the door partly open.
Yeah, did she open the door or was it already open?
It was partly open.
Many unanswered questions in this movie.
There's a lot of unanswered questions in this movie. I think they did. I think they might have put the spiders in the in the refrigerator for a little bit to slow them. We did that we did a shoot in high school with frogs, and the frogs kept moving. So,
yes, yeah.
So we put them in a cardboard box. We put them in the refrigerator.
Oh.
They just sat.
Poor things. Oh, my God.
But they would thaw out and they would start hopping again. So somebody would have to take them and put them back in the refrigerator.
So there's not just frog boiling, there's frog freezing.
Yeah, frog freezing. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Well, we didn't freeze them. They were fine. After the shoot was over with, they went about.
It's a joke,
they're
son.
probably still alive.
It's a joke.
Yeah.
They're probably still
as far
they're
as
frogs.
I know. As far as I know, they're alive.
Who knows? But yeah, once again, an example of spiders crawling. And tarantulas are not tiny little spiders that can get away with their body weight on you.
Right.
Like, they're not slight enough
it's like having a
to
cat
not be
walking on you.
Yeah. And they're furry. So the second they touch your skin, you'd think you would flip out. I know I would. I mean, seriously, it's crawling across this guy's kneecap, and he's like, "Oh, I'm just so distracted by this girl that I'm making out with."
Well, and then, I mean, seriously, like I said, aggressive making out. Well, and then she gets back in the car, and her plan is to finish her Coke and watch the movie.
Watch the carnage unfold.
But she's very surprised by what happens.
I don't understand that either.
Well, and you see the spiders are just sort of walking around, not really doing anything. And they're the least aggressive spiders in any movie starring spiders.
Yeah.
I mean, these are not
The Dr. No spider was scarier than all these spiders combined.
Yeah, it really was. And
Rosie and Jennifer, they always have pretty girl names.
Yeah, I don't know why people do that.
I don't either.
I'd name it like Kilosaurus or something, or Street Thunder. That's what I would name it if I had a pet tarantula. This is my pet, Street Thunder.
That was an excellent callback. I'd name mine Chicano Tough.
Chicano Tough.
That's what I would name it.
Chicano Tough. Or Hood.
Or Hood.
So, what kills me about this, though, literally, okay.
Literally?
Well, because there's killing involved.
Yeah.
So the spiders begin to cause havoc because everyone just sort of flips out. Because, again, there's no biting. There's at no point does it even appear that the spider has bitten somebody.
God, it's touching your neck skin. God.
I know. How would you not? Well, I guess she thinks
he's not that good of a kisser.
I know.
Lady.
Does she think that it's his fingers? Like he's so oh my God. Your fingers are so delicate.
They do try to pass it off like that because he's sort of clutching on her like that around her neck.
Yeah.
But
common move.
He's defying physics in the sense that it's like, okay, the spider's coming from this direction. His hand is coming from this direction. I don't know.
Well, she's probably not that bright.
We're seeking logic where there's none to be found.
But here's the thing, right? So when the 4 people do end up, and only 3 of them die because one of them ends up in the hospital.
Yeah, one of them ends up borderline catatonic for a while. She goes full Charlie Bronson's daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But one of them dies because she gets her head smashed through a window.
Yes.
So really not the spider's fault.
Yeah. Everybody panics and she literally gets...
And they completely forget how doors operate.
Yeah.
Like none of them are even trying to open the door.
Did she lock them in? Because, they can't get out of the doors.
Well, they try... First of all, okay.
Oh, so they're up against the speaker on one side, it looks like.
Yeah.
But there are 4 doors to choose from, so
and
come on, guys.
There's nobody else. Oh, right through the window. So...
Yeah.
Okay, so she's dead.
One of the boyfriends like kicked her head through the window of the door. Yep.
And then the other guy, the way he dies is he gets sort of
strangled on the steering wheel.
Yeah, he's wedged in the. Well, yeah, one does, but the other, the guy you'll see, he gets out.
Well, because there are like 40 people in this car.
Yeah, it is a clown car. Yeah.
Oh, look, she's bleeding temper pain.
Yeah, she's just going everywhere. So this guy goes to get out, and he gets his head stuck between the door, and somehow the car moves, and it strangles him.
Yeah. You have, there's a lot of...
Very quickly.
There's a lot of assumption.
Like a second.
No, I understand how the girl died because that impact would pretty much smash your brain.
Oh, wait, no, it's not a shark.
No.
Just a lame-ass spider. And she's got her hands.
She's literally just like, she's going catatonic.
Yeah,
and
she is.
And yeah, Susan's just sitting there shocked, like she's going to cry. Like, oh, dear God, what have I done?
Yeah.
And what did she think was going to happen?
Well, that's what I don't understand.
You release a truckload of spiders into a car. One things is about to happen.
Yeah. I mean, if her intention...
And I love how they just automatically come back to her. They're like, okay, Mom.
Spider friends, come to me.
Assemble.
Well, okay, so what I thought, and I have no basis for this.
Anyway.
Was that maybe she set out to kill them, but then she was sort of like, I can't believe what actually, like, oh my God, I actually did it.
And she keeps her dead spider. She's petting it still.
Yeah.
She keeps the body of Jennifer in like a little jewelry box.
Yeah. And she's got like the long fingernails.
Yeah.
That are like.
She's got an almost ethereal Gwyneth Paltrow kind of look.
Yeah, she sort of does. She's not a terrible actress.
No, but I mean, the role doesn't require a wide range of emotion from her.
No.
Think about what else she really even has to do besides, and I don't even think it's her touching the real spiders, except maybe that one in the beginning where she's just touching its back. Because whenever you see her releasing the spiders to attack somebody, it's always just a hand. You can't see her. And I think it's the Wrangler guy because he's like scooting them like, go on, Steve.
I'm not touching the spiders.
Like,
well, her name is Susanna Ling. And this was the only movie she was ever in. Like, this was it.
Really?
And it's kind of weird when you see that. Like, and it makes me wonder because like I said, she's not terrible. I mean, she could have been in other exploitation movies in the 70s. But, that's not. It's
funny you bring that up because I recently came across an old movie on DVD that I used to love when I was a kid called Princess and the Goblin. And it's an animated movie.
I've never heard of it.
It's from 1991, and it's really hard to find on DVD, but I did. But the main boy actor, Curdy, I tried to look him up the other day because I was like, you see the faces of the characters you grew up with, like Peter Pan, but I never knew what Peter's voice looked like or what he looked like in real life. And same with Curdy. I tried to look him up, and I found out his name, but he has literally no other history.
Yeah. And it's weird because
it's just like he fell off the face of the earth.
Yeah, because I tried to look up some of the people in this movie to see, because I've done that before. Like, I found out that the girl who played the little girl in The Visitor, like she lives like just down the road. So it's like it's always kind of interesting to see if there's some more to these people after IMDb stopped caring.
Yeah,
I couldn't find anything on.
And that's kind of what you do for a living. So
yeah, I mean,
that's a little.
I mean, there was like nothing. I mean, I didn't like dig too deep to like find out, addresses and stuff. But I mean, usually, somebody like who was in a movie, you're going to be able to find like an article somewhere where they're talking about the movie.
Yeah, because they still...
somebody else will have tracked them down.
Well, you still want to assume that they exist, but sometimes it leads to heartbreak. For instance, Mr. Brown, who, oh, hey, Adam, what are you doing here?
I'm nothing.
White lady.
I was watching the movie, Bob.
Like, Adam broke my heart when he informed me that the voice actor who played Peter Pan died of like a drug overdose.
Oh,
and I was like, why on earth would you do that to me? That's cruel.
Yeah. Well, that happens. It's a shitty industry.
It really is. So many child stars died that way. It's almost a cliche at this point, which is sad to say, but it is.
Now, Uncle Rapey's deciding to begin, laying the groundwork.
Yeah.
For his slimy, disgusting. No, okay. Uncle Rapey's a cop, right?
Yes.
Okay.
He's like the local sheriff.
Yeah, he's like the local sheriff.
Which I mean, they've got quite a monopoly in that town. You got the mortician, the sheriff.
They've got supply and demand.
And it turns out the uncle is corrupt, in a multitude of ways. Because not only was he sleeping with his niece's mom, and this is so edible, it's so gross. It's like, yeah, now I'm going to nail the kid, especially since she looks like the mom from back in the day. And
yeah, you're like your mom, but hotter.
He discovers that Susan has, in fact, been committing these murders, quote unquote. And he decides to cover it up because he's got some weird fantasy that they're going to like run off into the sunset together.
Well, see, that's what's so... And again, I mean, I get it. The movie's not going to make a lot of sense.
No.
But when mom died, did she actually just die of a heart attack and she was scared? And the spider just didn't do... And so, like, when they did the autopsy, what happened? Oh, she had a heart attack.
Yeah, I guess the question is, how do you die of venom?
I mean, anaphylactic shock? I don't know.
That's the thing. I don't really know how it works. Kind of like, with cancer, a lot of cancer patients don't actually die from the cancer itself. They die of like pneumonia or
pneumonia.
Yeah, something like that. So I wonder if venom is similar in the sense that it causes cardiac arrest.
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't really know that much about it now that I think about it, but
I want to know what funeral home gave them all these coffins to use to borrow, because there's a lot of coffins in the movie.
It's like a parking lot in downtown Atlanta, but for caskets.
Yeah, and so that had to have been a real funeral home, and they were just letting people hop in.
And Susan,
because they have like the crane that lifts the bodies out. Like they had all that stuff.
Yeah, they had all the actual equipment. Yeah. And Susan is a morbid bitch because the guy who stomped on her favorite spider, she creeps into the funeral parlor at night and puts Jennifer in the guy's hand and rests it against his chest so that no one's going to see it at his funeral. That is twisted in so many ways.
Yeah, and it's so unusual, or not unusual, that's not the right word.
Because why would you want to, if you loved her that much, why would you want to bury her with the dude that stomped her to death?
I don't know.
I don't see the logic there either.
Well, and she always has this sort of look on her face like she's very, I don't know, like she's
lost in the woods.
Well, it's like she's kind of putting on this like almost like I'm not trying to be mean. I'm trying to be innocent.
I'm such a naive little waif.
I'm just a victim in all this. But then she goes and does something like that where, and
you can't get behind her because she makes these just absolutely morbid decisions throughout the movie. And with the actual murders themselves, that's almost easier to understand. But then she basically goes in and is quasi taunting the catatonic girl.
Well, like
what did she end up saying to her?
She apologizes, and then as you can see, her friend with the scrunchy face says, like, "What did you say? What are you apologizing for?" Which is a very weird thing because, like, I don't know. I wouldn't immediately jump to the conclusion that she was a murderer.
No, like, because if you hear somebody saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry," well, but wait, didn't she see Susan at the drive-in that night?
I don't know.
Maybe she put two and two together. It was something like that, I want to say. But who is this dude that she's running to? Because all the guys in the car, all the guys in the car are toast.
Yeah.
So I guess this is just her boyfriend, where she's like, that creepy Susan girl is behind all of this.
It's 70s John McClane.
Yeah.
Because he ends up crawling around in a.
And he wears full rosette. along his collar.
Yeah,
so.
it's...
And I love that every man's strategy in this movie is to hook up with Susan. Even this guy so the girlfriend reports the fact that Susan must be behind the murders from the drive-in. Right. And his main strategy is to try and nail her in the woods.
And also
to distract her.
Okay, what happened to the boyfriend?
I don't know. He just sort of fell off the face of the earth too.
Because they go to
I
lengths.
Guess he went back to college.
I guess he went back to college.
I suppose. Because he's not keeping her company or trying to...
No, he's gone.
Do the boyfriend thing. He just disappears after that first time that you see him after the original guys attacked her in the house. So I don't...
Maybe it was the first time he didn't know about the spider thing either. And he showed up and went,
I wanted to get laid this weekend, but I'm out.
No, this is not.
Hit the eject button.
Yeah, no, this isn't happening.
Because there's the hot to crazy ratio, right?
Yes, exactly.
So why don't you refresh the hindsighter's memory on how that works?
Oh, God.
Not like down to the...
What was it?
Mark.
There was the... What, as hot goes up? I can't remember. Was it as hot goes up, crazy goes up?
Depending on how hot a woman is, a man will tolerate certain levels of crazy, but only up to like a boiling point. So you have to be a certain level of hot to get away with other levels of crazy behavior, is my understanding of it.
Here, I've got, I'm pulling up an image of the, here we go. This is here we are, the universal hot crazy matrix. So let's see, where's Susan Adams? Let's zoom in a little bit.
Because I mean, she's a beautiful girl. I think she's lovely, but
I would say,
man, seriously, this guy chasing her down is like 50 years old.
Oh yeah,
he's clearly. But I mean, he was working. He was welding in the middle of the street, so he's clearly not a teenager.
Yeah, he looks like Sergeant Hulka.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, it kind of does.
I see it.
No, but so let's see, like, where is Susan on the hot crazy matrix? So she is on the hotness. Let's say she's a 7.
Okay.
And if she's not beyond an 8 in crazy, she's on the border between fun zone and danger zone.
Danger zone.
Now, if her crazy is a 9, then. Yeah,
that's just an absolute no-go, no matter what.
She's well in the danger zone.
Gotcha.
I love this.
Who's a 9? Jennifer Connelly? Like, so what? If Jennifer Connelly was a murderer,
she's a 10. So, and you'll notice that at the 10 point, you can pretty much be a murderer. If she's a 9.9,
you can get away with murder.
If she's in the 9.9, range, she's in the date zone.
Oh my God. Yeah. So call in and tell us who you think supersedes this measurement. But yeah, I mean, she's a beautiful girl, but she's intentionally malicious while putting on this, like you said, naive little waifish act of, oh, I'm the victim. And
well, I think
she is victimized. It's true.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest flaw of the movie because it's a bad movie, but it's not as bad as a lot of these kind of movies. If they had maybe established the spider thing a little better, and if they had spent more time with young Susan, I think, then it may have hung together a little bit better. Because you're right. Because as it is, it's just she likes spiders. She's weird. People want to bang her. And because she doesn't want to bang them, they do mean things to her. Well,
so
I guess.
Yeah, basically. And so this part actually reminds me, in a very specific way, of House on Haunted Hill, because so the guy, his strategy is not to bang Susan in the woods. He brings her back to the scene of the crime at the drive-in, and her hackles aren't immediately raised by that. Kind of like how Annabelle Lauren doesn't get to invite anybody to her party at the House on Haunted Hill, and yet somehow in the wide, wide world of sports, her husband invited the dude she's cheating on him with.
Yeah.
That doesn't raise any suspicions in your mind? Come on, ladies, get it together.
And again, that's sort of the thing. It's like, because you don't really get into her head, you're just left with questions. Like the guy who's feeling her up right now. Okay, he's dating Scrunch Face Girl.
Yeah, it seems that way.
Scrunch Face Girl's like, hey, this hot chick might have, murdered some people I know. You should go on a date with her. Yeah. And he's like, okay, I'm really not into you that much anyway, So I'll go out with her and, maybe something will happen.
Which, I mean, like he has every intention of hurting her, but he takes her to a public drive-in instead, because he initially finds her in the woods, a very convenient place to murder her and dump her body. But no, I'm going to take her to the drive-in to teach her a lesson.
Well, it's like he wants to find out if she did it or not. Like, but why does he care? Because again,
was he friends with any of those kids? Is he just doing this at the behest of his pinch-faced girlfriend?
Right. Yeah, that's the problem. It's like they're asking the audience to just sort of go along with whatever. And, look, it's 1975. You're sitting in a movie theater. You're eating popcorn. You're trying to get the bra off of the girl next to you. You really, that's what this movie is.
Your brain power is kind of scattered.
Yeah, this is not This is not Kramer versus Kramer, where you're going in expecting something. You know what you're getting when you watch a movie like this, and it's one of the things that I like about movies, these exploitation movies, is because, if it hits certain marks, it succeeds.
Yeah.
If it's scary, which this isn't.
No, this isn't scary at all. It's just
not even remotely scary. It's passably,
it's just kind of macabre.
Yeah, it's like passably interesting in a way where it's like, well,
Yeah, because I think what really would have tied this together, even in a small way, is that if, like you said, we had spent more time with young Susan and saw the boys chasing her home from school, or like how Forrest Gump got run down every day by the school bullies, something like that. I don't know, but you never even see these people until after they attack Susan, meaning you could have done it in a lazy way. Like, oh, that Susan girl, I don't want to go there. She's creepy. Just do anything. I don't know.
Well, and also, too, I think that part of the problem with the movie is that they just reveal everything in kind of in real time. And so there's no mystery. There's no question. You see characters going oh, did she do it? Well, we know she did.
Yeah, there's no twist whatsoever.
Yeah, there's no twist. We know she did.
And she just gets increasingly worse because she actually ends up burying one of her victims underneath.
Well, that's Uncle Rapey.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when she kills Uncle Rapey.
How does she kill him, though? So,
she really doesn't.
Well, no, but she incapacitates him.
Well, he fell down the stairs.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah,
I thought one of her spiders bit him or something and paralyzed him.
No, he was in the process. He was going to rape her.
I missed so much.
Yeah, he was. Well, he was attacking her. Presumably that was what he was doing.
Well, because he comes to her and says that.
Sorry, this guy.
Yeah, I don't know if you see him again. Oh, yep, he's going full John McClane.
Yeah, it is, the John McClane scene. This is great.
Yippee-ki-yay, mother spiders.
Yeah, they made so many jokes about the fat guy because he looks like Fat Hitler.
Oh, yeah, he really did.
He really, he'll come up again.
But so Uncle Rapey.
Yeah, there he is. Fat Hitler.
He kind of looks like Trigger from Friends, the superintendent of Rachel and Monica's building. The big guy with the mustache. Friends people will know what I'm talking about. But so Uncle Rapey makes his way over to Susan's house after he pieces together that it was, in fact, her who committed these crimes.
Right.
But he covers it up. Like I said, so that they can presumably ride off into the sunset together, and she's not down with, sleeping with her uncle.
Yeah, surprise.
What a stuck-up bitch.
Yeah. And meanwhile, her dad is just oblivious to everything.
Well, and he's never there. It shows him leaving the house half a dozen times because he goes to a mortician conference or something.
Yeah, mortician. Yeah.
He's on a date at Jimmy Pesto's.
Yeah, he's at MortCon.
He's at MortCon.
Mort the mortician's there.
He's with his toupee.
And doing his stand-up routine.
How spider was it?
No, but what I think if they had sort of told the movie from the perspective, pick one person, tell the movie from that person's perspective, pick an everyman or every woman.
That gives you a reason to be missing information.
Right. Sort of like if the scrunch-faced girl was sort of the moving factor where, okay, well, what happened? And then she uncovers, her mom died. And they dig into that a little bit and they find out some more. The mom died of a heart attack, but instead, because they lay everything out for you and they just say, well, she killed her mom. She used a spider. This happened. Then she did that. There's no, you have no mystery.
Well, there's no linking to the only thing that the deaths had in common was the spider. So like you said in the car, the girl gets her head smashed in. Another guy chokes to death. Another one gets his head crushed by a pole in the car frame.
Yeah.
And the mom presumably has a heart attack from the spider venom or whatever. And so the actual death, like that would have been interesting if you had seen like a newspaper clipping of, oh, her mom died of a heart attack.
Right,
and one of these kids did in the drive-in too. And then, piece it all together.
And you can even add, when they're doing the research, they're like, oh, her mom died of a heart attack. Oh, somebody else died. Like, oh, there's
in a similar way.
People have been like dropping dead around this girl for a while.
That's the fastest any of the spiders move in the entire movie. It's like scuttling down the air vent.
They must have put some food out there for him.
And so he wasn't trying to actively pursue her again after the drive-in.
No, she was
she just followed him to work where he clearly climbs around in vents and seals them up for a living. And she sicks her army of spiders on him.
Yeah, and it's really just his bad luck to be in the vent that only goes so far. Usually air conditioner vents, like they just keep going and you can go out the other side. Also, I'm pretty sure you could kick your way out of it. If you're in if I was in an air conditioner duct and I suddenly found myself confronted by an army of tarantulas, I'm pretty sure.
I'm hauling ass.
Also, I'd probably step on a lot of the tarantulas.
Yeah, because before they even get around, you stomp on them or something.
Hit them with your hand.
Yeah.
Do something.
Because as long as they don't bare their fangs into you, like smash them with your fist or something. I don't know. But he's just laying stone still while there's a tarantula dramatically crawling down his face.
And that's the other thing too that doesn't make sense about the tarantulas is that they never explain why the tarantulas attack people.
Yeah, it's like the second she lets them out of their cage, they just go into murder mode.
They're going to kill something. They're just killing the first moving, living thing that they come across.
It's like the sharks in Shark Night. It's like, okay, there's this vast bayou, but the first thing the sharks do when they're released into the water or out of their cage is seek out a human being to eat.
Yeah.
Not another animal, nothing like that. Like it's like they're trained.
Yeah, it's really, you can kind of tell that the idea for the movie was we have access to spiders. Let's make a movie.
Yeah, because there's no differentiating factor. The spiders aren't special. Like in Deep Blue Sea, we at least have the backstory of the Makos are smarter and they want to escape the facility. And so they have a vendetta against the people keeping them captive. Fat Hitler. But in this movie and Shark Night, like the animals aren't special.
Right.
So it's like, did she just train them to bite everybody? Because they're super gentle with her.
Yeah, because if you look at, a better spider movie like Arachnophobia. Did we do Arachnophobia?
We sure did.
We did. God, I've forgotten.
I think that was a Mr. Brown pick, actually.
God, that was a long time ago.
It was a while ago. We've been hanging out with each other for several years now, so we've covered quite a few movies.
But like with Arachnophobia.
But that's where the uncle pieces it together because one of the spiders got injured and lost a leg in the vent attack, and no one else notices the spider leg, the severed leg, just sitting on the garage floor, and the uncle's like, "Oh, that's funny. I never find spider legs at home." You just
and like he knows it's a tarantula leg.
I mean, it is pretty distinct. It's not mangled or anything. And
also, where'd they get the leg from? Was that Jennifer's leg? Did they pluck it off Jennifer's dead body to use as a prop?
But the uncle doesn't know about her. Does he know about her spider collection? Because the dad seems to know. Because in the very beginning,
the dad definitely knows.
Because she's like, "Daddy, Mommy keeps murdering my pets," and he goes, "Oh, don't worry, darling, we'll get you another one." And so, but that's just when she's like collecting them off of tree branches and stuff, not when she has. And that one wouldn't have fit in a little cage like a tarantula does either. But then she suddenly has a tarantula that she murders her mom with. God, this movie doesn't make any sense.
It really doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it doesn't hang together at all. I know. She just. I expected the nurse to start slapping her.
Catatonic girl.
Like on an airplane. I expected to see like a line of people coming in slapping her.
But so the catatonic girl is in a hospital, and I love this conversation between Uncle Rapey and I guess the doctor. He's like, "No, she's way too far gone. She's off her rocker," or whatever he says about her, because they're basically going to hospitalize her for life.
Yeah.
Especially after she has the freak out. So there's like a little pot of plants in her room, and she sees a spider on it and has
she
Mac Daddy meltdown.
Yeah, she absolutely loses it. Well, and it's one of
and the nurse has to confine her to her bed.
I just love how you can tell the nurse doesn't like her or anyone.
Well, I mean, that's a tough industry just by itself, by the job description alone. But when people start physically attacking you when you're just trying to do your job, that's an extra hurdle that most people don't want to face.
How long did that man spend on his sideburns every morning?
Oh, I mean, it'd be funny if the rest of his hair was a toupee, but his sideburns were real. And that's why he commits so much time to styling them in the morning.
There's somebody out there like that.
Oh, absolutely.
There's definitely somebody out there like
absolutely. But yeah, so catatonic girl is going to remain in the hospital, I guess. So that was the one person that could really, finger Susan for the crime.
Phrasing.
It's an actual expression.
Uncle Rapey would disagree with you. Well, he could finger her. He's got evidence. He could.
I regret everything.
He could totally finger her.
Anyway.
The only reason all right. He's got his reasons for not, but I'm just saying he could if he wanted to.
Because he wants to finger her.
Yeah.
So anyway, so Uncle Rapey picks Susan up from the hospital and once again, I never figured out in his boat from the 1970s.
You just see the suspension just bouncing up and down because they're filming it in another 1970s car, so it's impossible to keep the shot steady.
Yep. But so the girl who's catatonic was the one who could actually prove that there were spiders in the car.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it again. But once again, how many people know about the spider collection? Because the leg is what seems to tip off the uncle. So it seems to me like he knows that she collects them.
He would have to, I mean, it's a shame.
Because otherwise he wouldn't have picked up the leg and been like, oh, look at that.
Right, yeah. It would make no sense whatsoever.
He has to know.
I mean, maybe his brother, one day, like you do, tell your brother, I'm kind of worried about my kid. She keeps collecting spiders. I don't know. I don't know.
She's weird. Well, maybe she's, the right level of hot for that crazy quotient for Uncle Rapey.
If she was any less attractive, she would be in jail.
Probably.
I mean, that's just all there is to it.
That's true.
If she was like a little dumpy thing with a big old wart on her face, no, straight to jail. Straight to jail.
What does that comedian Matt Rife say? He was like, oh yeah, it's perfectly possible for a man and a woman to be friends, but it means that one of you is ugly.
Yeah.
He's like, sorry, ladies. I know you don't want to hear that, but there you go. But yeah, so Uncle Rapey's basically making his move and trying to.
Oh, there's Dad. Dad's back.
Yeah, he's not at
Frank Zappa's back.
Mortician Con this week.
Yeah, it is when you look at the shots of the uncle, or just various shots in the room, does he just have urns? Is that an urn back there?
He's just like the mortician.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if that's
there's an urn. There's another urn. There's a statue, or there's an award I won that looks like an urn.
Yeah. I mean, it's
God.
I guess when you're a mortician, I mean, it's that's your job. So,
but you'd think they'd be in one place, not serving as decor around the house.
Yeah, and I hope it's empty.
Well, I don't know. Martha might be in one of them. The mom.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, he probably didn't hang on to that. Well, no,
she was a bitch.
they showed her funeral. They were burying her.
Oh, okay, that's right.
Yeah, she got planted.
Well, then who's in these urns?
I don't know.
The rest of her spiders that have died over the years?
Yeah, because by this point, she's had to have gone through about 1,000 spiders.
Yeah, because like I said, there's supply and demand here that is not making sense.
No, it doesn't make
How many freaking spiders are there available to you for these murders? And how many spiders are, becoming casualties during these murders?
Yeah,
because one clearly lost a leg. Jennifer got stomped on, but I don't think it shows any of the rest of them dying magically.
Yeah, and I like that, she comes to him.
He is the sheriff.
He's the sheriff.
Or a detective, at least, because he wears a suit through most of the movie.
Yeah.
He doesn't really wear a uniform.
Yeah, he wears a uniform in the beginning.
I think he was a police officer when he was cheating with the mom and then got promoted to detective.
Yeah, I suppose.
Who cares?
And so she goes, scrunch face girl.
Scrunch face
who
McGee.
looks okay in a profile. But she goes to the high school gym where he works.
And he's got the rosary on the.
Yeah, it's very clearly they just put some stuff in a high school gym or a high school classroom because that's where you film movies.
That is some Ed Wood level quality right there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's got to figure out now, because his plan is I'm gonna protect her so I can bang her.
Yeah.
And now here's this person saying that, there's something I have to investigate it. So his hands are kind of tied now.
He's technically not wrong, though, because she doesn't have a lick of proof.
Well, no, you're right.
It's all conjecture that she's pieced together. And she heard Susan say something relatively innocuous, which was, "I'm so sorry." And what's the first thing you hear when, somebody comes to you and they're like, "Oh, so-and-so and my family died." "Oh, I'm so sorry."
Right, yeah.
That doesn't necessarily indicate guilt. It's just that, so it's just vague of a situation enough that, and she can't provide proof against Susan. So the uncle has pieced it together completely.
Maybe they did film that. Look, there's wire on the windows. Maybe they did film that in some kind of a police station.
Yeah, it's possible. But so now Susan's just creeping around in the woods.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's the girl. It's pinch-faced girl trying to spy on Susan.
Yeah, she's going to try
get some of that proof.
Yeah, she wants evidence.
Yep.
And that works out well for her.
Oh yeah, she dies. I think she arguably dies harder than anybody else in the movie.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's not true. The kids got pretty mangled in the drive-through. So
yeah, but
she gets her neck snapped and she's all mangled in the puddle. Oh man.
Yeah. And those kids in the Beetle, that was really their own fault.
So she tried to convince the local law enforcement, "Hey, this girl is creepy and she's committing these murders," and he's obviously trying to cover it up. So pinch-faced girl sneaks to the mortuary and tries to find some evidence, and what she finds instead. Well, I guess it is kind of evidence, is the uncle making a move on Susan.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so she's like, "Oh, well, they're clearly in bed together."
Wah, wah.
He's protecting her.
Hiding behind a tree.
Yeah.
Just like you do. She's wearing the brightest clothing she could possibly.
I was just thinking that. She's wearing white with a bright red skirt.
Yeah.
It's it's not subtle.
See, and the weird thing too is that you look at this mortuary house and it looks all grim and drab and mortuary-like, or does it? Or is it just a house from the 1970s?
That's my question, is that
you can't tell.
Usually when there's a house like that, there's a clear difference between the living quarters and the funeral home quarters. Or at least that's the case these days. I don't know. But
I mean, in the olden days, because I know when my wife was in New York, and they would go up to New York for funerals when one of the old timers passed.
Yeah. And
she would go to the funeral home, but it was just like a brownstone. And she would go, they would send her downstairs, and there was a little office where she would do homework or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until she was older that she realized that was the office of the funeral home.
Oh my God.
And there's on the other side of the door, there's dead folks, but it was literally just like a brownstone at Racuglia Funeral Homes.
Racuglia.
I think that was
my
it.
God.
Yeah, I think that was it. But
I gotta look this up.
But it was upstairs was, the funeral parlor area. And then there was, the dudes lived on the top floor, and that was just what you did.
Yeah.
You lived above the shop.
Yeah. Racuglia and Son Funeral Home.
Oh God, is it still there?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
323 Court Street in Brooklyn, New York.
Oh my God, that's it. That's gorgeous.
Open 24 hours. Yeah.
I mean,
naturally.
Oh God. So
shout out to Racuglia and Son.
They're not sponsors.
No, they are not.
So
they don't even know we exist.
That is not a paid promotion. But if you are in the New York area and you die, I would suggest looking them up.
After you're dead.
Yeah. They're open 24 hours.
Yeah.
Because, it's so annoying when you die and it's 2 a.m.
Oh my God. And so, Susan is just baffling to me, because she even keeps that sort of pathetic victim-like persona when her uncle's actively kissing her. Because up until now, he's done stuff that could be considered kosher, but not exactly. But it's just beyond the line of plausibility.
Right.
But then once he goes to kiss her on the mouth, it's she just sits there and she's not even really struggling against him or anything.
That's your red flag.
that's where the crazy hits the wall for you.
And Mr. Brown's not here, but I think he would agree with
what?
me. That's red light behavior. Full on the mouth, open mouth kissing. That's red light behavior.
I absolutely agree. with that?
I learned that in Catholic school. So, you know.
What?
We'll leave that. By the way.
And a hush falls over the room.
Yeah. So the scene, sorry, I'm just trying to analyze this like it's a real movie. It's so close to a real movie.
It has horror elements.
It really does try to be a real movie.
Yeah,
it really tries. And
the elements are too loose and don't fit together well enough for it to be a legit movie, though.
Well,
you're right.
It's competently made.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you compare this to a lot of the other exploitation movies.
Yeah, like the camera work is good.
Yeah, everything's exposed correctly.
Yeah.
More or less. Some of the scenes are a little dark. The audio is kind of crap, but like even
the audio is horrible.
Yeah, but I wonder how much of that was just the copy of the movie that we have access to as bad audio, you know? Because even on the Riff Tracks version, it's actually kind of annoying to watch that because the Riff Tracks, you know, Mike and Bill and Kevin are at a certain volume in every Riff Tracks thing.
Yeah.
And it's usually like the riffers are here and then the movie's right about here. And on this one, the riffers are here and the movie's way down low.
Huh.
So you kind of have to play it a little louder when you're watching the Riff Tracks version.
I can imagine that's even more frustrating because even with just watching the movie straight out, like I had to adjust the volume about 50 times watching it.
Now this has got to be day for night. Yeah, this is very much day for night.
What?
They're shooting in the daytime for nighttime.
Oh, okay. And they had to put like a filter.
Yeah, or you just stop the camera down. So you're just not exposing it as much. But, you know, the bright sunlight, you know, beaming off the water is a pretty dead giveaway that it's not nighttime.
The moonlight's not that bright,
Yeah,
Jason?
exactly. Yeah, you have to wear sunscreen so the moon doesn't burn you.
I mean, you have to give it to Pinch Face. She is basically like a cross-country runner in the woods.
Does good.
Like, she only falls once. And usually that's the demise of anybody in any horror movie when they're running through the woods. I fell down.
I think Pinch Face might be my favorite character.
Why?
I'm just realizing it. I think she's actually the one she's the most dynamic. She's actually got a mystery to solve. Her motivation's very clear. You know, her friends were attacked.
Yeah.
You know, like, okay, I get it. You know, unfortunately, though, she's not going to outrun 70s.
She meets a sticky
there you go.
end.
There's a fall.
She fell again.
There's a fall. That's
and this time.
Oh, yeah. No, he's got her.
Yeah, he does. And it's so
ironically,
sad.
She pulls out a praying mantis and throws it at him and kills him. How fucking awesome would it? She's got like a centipede in her pocket and throws it in his face.
She's got something that's actually legit venomous.
Yeah.
Yeah, poor thing. He chokes her out in the woods. I'm surprised he didn't rape her.
You know,
is his rape interest specifically for Susan?
He is absolutely fixated on his niece.
Yeah,
like he's not turned on if it's not his brother's daughter.
Well, because for him, I guess it's
never wanted to utter that sentence.
Well, for him, I guess it's just unfinished business because his girlfriend suddenly dies unexpectedly. And then there's basically a younger replica of her who comes along later.
Yeah.
Be damned if it's his niece, but what are you going to do? Oh, yeah. See, her head's all twisted and a random hobo finds her in the woods.
Random dude finds her.
Yeah.
Unnecessarily. You know,
and I love that they strategically like put a leaf on top of her. Like,
yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and also, first thing you do when you find somebody typically is not just go ahead and move their neck.
No.
Hey, you okay?
I guess he was trying to figure out, like, is she really dead? Because her neck is at a really odd angle.
Yeah. So Detective Lapel, Uncle Lapey Rappel, or wait, shit.
Rapey Lapel.
Rapey Lapel. Lapey Rappel. God, what
Rapey Lapel.
What did my brain just do there?
I don't know. Yeah, mine does that all the time where I'll actually transpose the letters.
Yeah. Uncle Rapey Lapel, Detective Uncle Rapey Lapel, kills the girl and then covers up his own murder because he's in charge of the investigation.
Kills the only innocent person in this equation.
Yeah.
And then...
And I don't know. I guess he's just sort of pushed over the edge.
I'm guessing so because now it's like he's really truly committed. It's not a lie of omission on his part where he's just leaving out important information.
Well, because Susan's made it very clear that she's not interested in banging her uncle.
But now he's got, some blackmail that he can implement.
And he's also got a murder he's got to worry about.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's in neck deep.
But it's like he expects her to be grateful and... that he's just as corrupt, if not more so than she is. Because that's the thing. Oh, I didn't really pay attention to this when I watched it last night. He's the only person in the movie who physically, personally murders somebody. Susan's been sticking spiders on people her entire life, but he's the only one who ever actually lays hands on a victim.
Right, yeah. He's the only person who it is very clearly, there's no questions asked, he intentionally killed her. Because even with Susan, it's sort of like, well, did she really?
I killed her in the name of incest.
I mean, when she kills the guy in the air conditioner duct, I think by that point, she's at least aware that people can be frightened to death by her spiders. Like, she's got no more. She can't say, oh, I was just trying to scare him.
Yeah, that's true.
That was definitely murder.
Yes.
You know, and it was a very selfish murder because it wasn't like, you know, it wasn't a revenge thing. It wasn't, I'm trying to save my dad's life.
Well,
it was, she was just covering herself.
But are you sure, though? Because the guy, he doesn't really have anything on her. Now, he does try to kind of force himself on her at the drive-in, but it's not like he ever maliciously tried to choke her out or murder her.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, I guess it's true. Like, from her point of view, like, she's not really aware of anything that
she doesn't see the connection
worth murdering.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. It's just like she's just the perpetual victim for reasons she doesn't even necessarily understand. She's
a spider lady. She's doing what spider ladies do.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is.
Once you go down that path, you know, that's your life is just going to be murdering.
But we are reaching the crux of the movie where, you know, ominous Uncle Rapey is walking.
Yeah.
Creepily up to the mortuary, and Susan's upstairs in her bedroom.
And you know he's up to no good.
Oh, he's nefarious.
Yeah,
but
you know it's something bad's gonna happen in the last
one of 5 things is about to happen. Yeah. So he makes his way upstairs and like confesses the whole situation to Susan and just like, oh, I did it for you, Susan. Now we can be together. And you're just like, that's not the most romantic proposition I've ever heard.
Well, and so he's clearly crazy.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's nuts. He has whatever kind of psychosis it is. He definitely has some kind of psychosis.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just calmly reading a book. She's just like, you know.
Well, she doesn't know that he's there.
Yeah, no, I know. It's just, you know, she's not exactly bothered by anything that she's done.
But yeah.
You know, she puts on her nightie. And,
her cute little nightie and reads in bed. But, yeah. I mean, she probably feels justified in everything that she did. Because if she feels perpetually victimized, then, yeah, okay, this is just how you eliminate these problems. And
see, I think another thing that would have made the character more interesting is if maybe there had been an additional threat to her father at some point.
Yeah.
Like if there was an intermediate thing, like she kills mom because of that. Like, you know, she's really protective of dad. Like she's obsessed with
that makes sense.
Safe.
Or because she's not like an obvious sociopath or anything, because she does go to the hospital to apologize to the catatonic girl. She's like, I'm so sorry. She shows remorse at least at one point throughout the movie, but she's not a sociopath. She's not she's just kind of a psycho.
Yeah.
And
and then she ultimately is faced with a legitimate lunatic. He's crazy.
Who's been like purposefully quasi victimizing her whole life. Because he's always just too close and leaning into her and nuzzling her. And now it's just like, he's already straight up like grabbed her and kissed her before.
Well, and and
now he's in her bedroom.
Yeah. And there's sort of an open question too. Like, was this the first time he ever tried to do anything with her? Like, what did he do to her when she was a kid? You know, was there something else there?
I think the first most intimate contact they have is that weird kiss. But you're right. He falls down the stairs and he's paralyzed and can't move.
Yeah.
And what's hilarious
and totally
is that
justified on her part.
Oh no, in this instance, yes. Like that 100%.
Which is so fucking weird because she's attacked by this guy. It's the first time where it's like, okay,
there's a clear history there.
She could have just called the cops.
Yeah, you know where the animosity is coming from. Yeah, at this. Well, no, can she though? Because he's corrupt, and she doesn't know like how high this goes.
Well,
I'm not. I don't know.
I suppose, and he's not dead yet.
She's killed people. Sorry, she's killed people for far less. So I mean, that's what's about to happen here. What's crazy to me is that he falls down the stairs, and then he's like, "Susan, call for help."
Oh my God. How many times does he say the name Susan?
Susan, no, Susan, please, Susan.
Susan.
He says it like 40,000 times.
It's like, maybe if you keep saying Susan, she'll change her mind.
Yeah.
You know.
So, yeah, craziness abounds. So the air vent guy is still in the funeral parlor, correct? They haven't buried him yet. Because that's the casket. Well, we're about to see it.
She uses
pinch face. Yeah, okay.
Squish face girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
she hoists her out, and actually it's hilarious.
It's pretty.
No, because what happens is Susan, she drags Uncle Rapey into the funeral,
which is pretty
parlor.
impressive. She's not a big gal.
Yeah.
Like,
I guess they had just went, put something on the floors. Maybe it's really slippery.
Maybe.
But
shellac the wooden floors.
So she drags him into the funeral home, the funeral parlor area.
Where there's still like 50 caskets, despite the fact that half the town is dead now.
Well, it's the showroom. That's where Bela Lugosi would go in and try out the coffins and then complain about how shoddy the inventory was. But her plan is...
then she's Vampira, not Elvira.
Well, there
it is.
So she goes to Squish Face Girl's casket, opens it up, and there's like a glass thing on the casket. I guess they sprung for like a deluxe thing with like a glass viewing thing.
Well, they had a line specifically about that, and
did they?
Because when her father's prepping, and part of the logic here is that they've already closed off Pinch Face Girl, and they're not going to reopen her casket. Like I think they had her funeral, they just haven't buried her yet.
Okay.
So they've like hermetically sealed her. And the father even says, because Susan's like, "Oh, beautiful job, father. She looks lovely." And he's like, "Oh, yes, she'll stay looking lovely for quite some years now." And he's a genuine guy. I mean, he comes off as creepy despite that, but he's like, "Yeah, she'll stay lovely for years to come now." And so they made a point out of that.
Yeah.
So that she can go in and lift it back up because you're not supposed to.
How much would it suck to be this actress?
God, seriously.
Lay in this coffin and this chick's going to manhandle you into this.
Well, and we're going to choke you out in the woods. We're going to make you lay in a muddy pond where a hobo picks you up and like stretches your neck around.
Yeah.
And then we're going to put you in these like gurney straps.
Yeah. And, we're going to lift you out.
But you got to pretend to be dead the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. Hold your breath. Hold your breath. Hold your breath.
Yeah, because the camera focuses on her the whole time.
Yeah, she's holding her breath. She must be like a free diver.
And this is the part that's crazy because rigor mortis apparently doesn't exist in this universe.
No.
Yeah.
Well, that's how good a job her father did as an undertaker.
Yeah, I guess that's just how well preserved she is.
So she's gonna hoist Squish Face Girl out of the coffin.
Poor Squish Face.
I know, I feel bad. Like I said, she's my favorite character in the movie.
No, but we haven't called her a single legit thing this entire time, and she's the only innocent person in the entire movie.
Poor actress.
Besides the dad.
So we're gonna take her out, and then we're gonna take Uncle Rapey, put Uncle Rapey in the casket.
Which doesn't make a lot of sense because it almost looks like they stuffed like tissue paper underneath her to create an extra layer of
I guess they got a super, super big casket.
It's she got a double wide? Like, what is that?
Well, but if you notice, and I'll put it on full screen whenever we get up to it. But,
oh, my God.
But when she puts Uncle Rapey in, and then she puts Squish Face Girl in on top of Uncle Rapey, and presumably, so like, Uncle Rapey will just
suffocate,
and then they'll bury them both.
And
whatever.
It's the perfect crime.
Perfect crime. But she closes the glass lid back down again, and if you pay attention, look at Squish Face Girl's nose, because she's up too high in it, and so when the glass goes in, it squishes her nose down. Like it literally. That's
what I was just thinking. Yeah. It's like there's not sufficient room for both of them in that freaking. How did she get it closed again? I guess she crushed them.
Well, that's what's so weird. Like having the glass panel there actually made it less reasonable because. Then if it wasn't a glass panel, you could throw 3 people in there probably.
But I guess the thought process behind that was like, well, he could scream until he ran out of air and somebody might have found him. So they had to add like an extra layer of something to make it impossible for him to ever be found.
I guess.
But poor Susan is.
They have to show us every minute.
Yeah. Her arms must be on fire from like wheeling that gurney of straps.
It's like, we know what she's doing. We don't need to see.
We get it. You have email.
Okay, now lower him down.
Well, at least they cut out the part where she hitched him into the straps because they cut away for that. But she basically just takes a little rope and like throws it over his face. And then they cut to a different scene. And then you come back and the uncle's conveniently already hitched up in the gurney thing. Yeah. So, yeah, there's like...
it's like straw.
Yeah, there's like straw in the bottom of it. And I'm pretty sure that's not how caskets work.
I don't know. I do not know. But
I couldn't speak too confidently about it.
Not a clue.
Okay.
Honestly.
We don't know anything about venom or caskets. My God.
No, we really don't.
We should have done our homework.
It's like, guys, we know what she's doing. You could literally just show just the after. We don't need the whole process.
Well, it's like when you get car scenes, instead of just like people hopping in the car and then they're suddenly at their destination, you get people talking.
Oh, yeah. Well, or James Wynn style, just show the entire car trip.
Yeah, and you're like, we know they're going somewhere. That's the entire implication. But yeah, you're right. There was a lot of, they didn't need to show us this entire process.
They really
it was so unnecessary.
Did not. And it's just, it makes it so lame because he's, supposedly he's paralyzed from the neck down now, but he's doing such a crappy job of being paralyzed from the neck down and also able to speak. And here's the thing: when you're paralyzed from the neck down, you can't breathe. Like if you break your neck and all of a sudden you can't, you're not going to just.
Do we know that he broke his neck precisely?
Why is he paralyzed then?
Because he may have broken some part of his spine. Like I don't know. He may have messed something up in the middle of his bed. Who knows?
Who knows?
I'm going to cover you up with bed sheets. But yeah, you're right. I mean, if he was theoretically paralyzed from the neck down, he's going to stop breathing soon anyway. Like, he should have stopped breathing already.
Yeah.
So
I mean, just laying there constantly going, Susan, Susan.
Yeah, I used my last breath to say your name 74 times.
Right, yeah. No, here. Okay, more. Okay, yes, we know what she's doing.
We get it.
Okay, now we get to see the other one.
Pinch face.
Yeah, pinch face.
She's back.
This poor actress.
You're right though, because she's like, there's just clearly not space for it. But now they're lowering the glass, and let's see what happens.
Yeah, no, check it out. Yeah,
it really does pinch her nose.
Well, you're gonna have to wait for another 15 minutes while she unhooks the whole rig and backs it out. And I like how you can clearly tell she's moving to let it out.
Or is he moving underneath her?
There you go.
Like, oh, okay.
Okay, yeah, we're all good now. Okay, everybody comfortable?
This was back in the 70s, and you've mentioned on several occasions how, you saw this movie, maybe you were making out in the theater, you were kind of distracted, stoned. And you were never going to watch this movie again.
No, you were never going to see it again. It was never going to happen.
Until 40 years later when these idiots came around and created a podcast. Yeah. So we love ruining things from your past.
Yeah, I mean, you were in this theater, you had a joint, you had a girl, and it was, you only went to this because you were kind of hoping the girl would get scared. Now here we go. Watch. And
it's
squish.
Oh, wow.
Look, you see her nose.
It's not super noticeable. No, I wouldn't have picked up on that if it weren't for you pointing it out.
But it's just like this poor actress of all the indignities that she's had to suffer because she's in this terrible movie.
And then we're going to lay you on top of this other actor who supposedly killed you.
Yeah.
And we're going to shut you in a coffin together.
And there you go.
Sound good?
I mean, and that's
and what's sad is that she probably, didn't make a very good paycheck on this movie.
No, I don't think anybody made any money at all on this. I would love to know if it was actually distributed. I mean, like I said, the only reason I know about this movie is because they did it on Riff Tracks.
Yeah.
And they go pretty deep finding movies, so.
Oh, hi, Father.
Yeah.
I'm just laying in bed reading. I didn't just murder someone else.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very talented, Mr. Ripley. Like you
is it though?
No, in how it ends, because you've got this horrible human being who's been committing these murders and atrocities.
Yeah,
and they just get away with it.
Oh yeah, it's a happy ending for her.
Yeah,
yeah. No, it's
literally her smiling. The end.
Yeah, that's it.
And I guess the father's just like, oh, good night, Susan, and good night, John boy. Like it just okay.
Well, at least
the movie's over.
At least it was short. I mean,
how long was it?
It's like an hour and 15 minutes or hour and 25, something like that.
No, it's not bad.
Yeah, yeah.
It didn't run too long because that is the one sin that this movie could have committed that would have pushed it into the really bad arena.
Yeah. If it had been any longer, it would have been a chore.
Yeah.
As it was, I mean, it's not good.
No, it's not a good movie.
It's not good at all.
There are too many questions, and not even because you and I were being picky. It's like, wait a minute. How does this track? So
it's not
following firms.
Yeah, no, I love how they actually gave a thanks to the Volkswagen dealership that provided the
shitty Beetle that the kids get murdered in.
And it's like, what did he had it on the lot? So it doesn't matter.
I have no idea.
No, but as far as movies like this go, it's not good.
No,
at all. It's one of the less objectionable exploitation movies that's out there. There's no nudity in the whole movie.
That's true.
It's not
which is odd for a 70s movie.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons why no one ever heard of it, because it's an exploitation movie that's tame. Very tame. It would be
especially given the multiple men trying to force themselves on her.
Yeah, I mean, if this movie was around today, it'd be a PG movie.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, there's no gore. I mean, there's a little bit of temporary pain blood, but other than that,
that's the only gory moment. You're right.
That's it. I mean, there's no, there's nothing. And so I do think, okay, this had to be some people who just got together and said, let's make a movie. Maybe it'll be fun.
Yeah.
I guess, because there's a movie called Teenage Strangler, which is
don't know that one either.
Hilariously terrible movie from the 60s. And it was just a bunch of locals. I think it was a local community theater that just wrote a movie and made it.
Well, it's kind of how Clerks got kicked off. Like Kevin Smith just gathered his friends and they made a movie.
Yeah.
So, on like a shoestring budget too. He maxed out every credit card he had and bootstrapped the entire thing.
Well, I guess it could have been like...
and now we're in the middle of a submarine movie, so it's bad news that our co-host is not here this week.
Yeah, YouTube.
Ooh, submarine movie.
Yeah, YouTube decided to start playing. For some reason, it said, hey, after watching Kiss of the Tarantula, how about K-19, The Widowmaker?
Naturally.
We're not going to show you that because it's copyrighted.
Like it is.
But there's really not an Alf to Seinfeld thing on this one.
No, because neither of us have ever seen it before.
I mean, I had seen the Riff Tracks version. I'd never watched it.
Well, then I guess you can technically do... No.
Well, I mean, if you're comparing, the Riff Tracks version to the one without them, it's about a 1.
I guess that does make them different movies. Yeah. That's true. Because straight 5 for me, because I had never so much as heard of this movie. Like, I've never even heard a conversation about it where you've never seen Kiss of the Tarantula? Nothing.
No.
As far as I am concerned, straight 5.
Well, that's easy.
Yeah.
And I guess next week, we will be back with Mr. Brown.
He'll be here in 3D next time.
Yes, he'll be back from whatever part of the world he's in right now.
Our international sailor of mystery.
Yeah, and we'll have another 1970s movie. Don't know what that is yet. We have not picked it. But we'll be back in a week. And we hope you enjoyed sitting through all without a break.
We haven't done that in a while. So, hindsighters, thank you for tuning in for your drive time, your listening time, your murderous spider time. We don't care what kind of time, especially since you didn't take a break time. This has been Darth, Jason, and two-dimensional Adam on Hindsight. And good night.